Before we begin, thank you very much to all right, everyone. Let's see if we can make it to a full year of shoutouts or not. Raise your bets for joining the Patreon campaign. It's a great sentiment. I love that you used a shout out to shamelessly plug that. Thank you very much. So as of right now, I've got 4 shoutouts left in the tank. So to get all the way to 1 year of shoutouts would have to go to February 1st. So I'm still probably like 50 shoutouts short. Now the length has already been incredible. Don't take that out of context, but who knows? Like I've stopped doubting you guys. If you want to see me make it that far, I know you are going to make it very clear. So yeah, thank you very much for everything. So this is the big day. This is the big day we've been waiting for. So we've gotten in reports from Cybertron Fest in Singapore, and this has been the updates I've been waiting on. Oh my god, everyone tweeted me at the same time going like, hey, look what just dropped. So for full disclosure, we are using TFW 2005, our usual news source here on the channel. This is coverage that came in from Ben Custom Toys, Toyscope, and Baidu. The images are sourced from there, just for full disclosure. Because this is a really cool look at stuff that, because it's locked in Singapore, we don't usually get to see. So this is awesome of them to do. So we're gonna get to the reason you're here. We're gonna get to the reason why the thumbnail is what it is, okay? We're gonna get there. But there are a few things that were announced at Cybertron Fest that I also want to talk about first, just so we can make this like a Cybertron Fest coverage video rather than just go, ooh, the big thing. All right, so first off, we got another look at this Year of the Dragon Transformer for coastal or continental Asia, and this is Crimson Flame. Sorry, I was trying to look at the name, like, oh, his head's in the way. Great. So Crimson Flame, as we've noted before, he is a heavy retool of the what is it? Steelbane, the Steelbane figure from the Last Knight. And we haven't really gotten good photos of it yet. I would argue this still isn't good photos of it because it's very blurry. But you can see the colors and you can see a much stronger Chinese aesthetic than past Chinese Zodiac releases. But here's the thing. Official images came out. So we can actually just take a look at this, and it's pretty. Oh, it's pretty. The two-tone red and black. Okay, the two-tone red, black, and then the gold accent. Now we're basically my brand colors. If this had a TJOmega logo on it, it wouldn't look out of place. Outside, I do not rock the Chinese aesthetic nearly as well as this one does. There's a lot of new tooling that actually goes in really, really well. And yeah, the new head especially in that regard. New weapon, too. New weapon. Looking really, really good. Really, really good. Dragon mode also looking really, really nice. Admittedly, the Steelbane mold always had this weird thing with a dragon mode where the feet just kind of end up on the back of the neck and tail. That's still present here, which is unfortunate, but you know what? It's what it is. I still think it's a really cool looking dragon. Yeah, it's got its own flight stand that can hold the weapon, etc. And he can still hold a piece of the weapon in his claw, which I think is a cool touch. And he does get a fire breath blast effect, also nice. And the box. Oh, the box is gorgeous. Like, it's in line with current Transformer packaging, but even then, you could tell they really wanted to make it look good. Yeah, it's a really, really nice figure that it will probably be very annoying to get if you don't live in China. So, might keep an eye out for the online shops on this one, because it is a really, really pretty piece. It's like and honestly, like a huge step up from the usual, like, Year of the releases they do, which are usually just some really weird repaint of a big figure, or a strange re-release of a small figure. It's odd. So hopefully in the future, this is more along the lines, because like it would be cool to get like the entire Zodiac representing like from different figures, like properly. Like, this is Year of the Dragon, we got a dragon. I kind of want this just to see what they do, like with a Rat Trap toy for Year of the Mouse. So, but yeah, that's Crimson Flame, and Crimson Flame looks amazing. But that's not the only reveal we got, of course. We got one that will be possible to buy in the US, and that is Wheeljack in his origin form. I think we've had a listing for this, so I think we kind of knew this was coming, or at the very least expected it. But yeah, this is actually kind of surprising in that, one, they figured out how to make it, but also the fact that it's Voyager scale. It's probably the only time Wheeljack is ever going to have a Voyager class toy. Which I guess is just necessary for what this thing is doing. So let's go looking through images here. So for starters, like, it just looks nice. Like, it does look nice. Aside from a few parts, let's be honest, there's a few parts here that are a little bit off. We'll talk about that here in a bit. Just focusing on the robot mode a little bit here, and Wheeljack is looking pretty decently. The legs are chonk. He has these big chonker legs because all of that box van has to fold up somewhere. So a lot of it ended up in the big boxy legs. So that doesn't look terribly, what I think of G1 Wheeljack as, but for the rest of it, yeah, like, keep in mind, this toy has a very difficult task to pull off. It has to turn a robot guy, who obviously turns into a sports car of some kind, or a race car, into a big boxy hover van. That's very, very difficult to pull off. The miracle that actually makes this possible is shell forming. You can see here in hand, he has a pretty large backpack of parts, which is unfortunate. And of course, with the big chonky legs, you can basically see the entirety of the vehicle went to those 3 locations. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but we kind of got that with Bumblebee and a little bit with Jazz. Admittedly, Jazz pulled it off a lot cleaner than the others did, but it really is kind of the only way to make it work, because this should be literally impossible, and yet somehow here we are, and it works. It at least works well enough to be a functional toy. Looking at the vehicle mode, it's a little bit chunkier in parts than it should be, but going back and looking at the episode again, a lot of this is spot on. Using Wheeljack's arms to form the front bumper, which is actually like raised, is actually a pretty good call. The only thing I'm missing here is like his blast shield that could slide up, which obviously you're not going to include. It could have been an accessory part that turned into a shield. Considering it's a blast shield in vehicle mode, I think I would have accepted it being a blast shield in robot mode this one time. Because that part just makes sense. But no, you can actually see, like, it's actually pretty big in hand. Like, if this toy actually does shrink down to something that's closer to deluxe size after being, like, that big in your hand, that's actually going to be really impressive engineering. Even though it's just shell that's folding into each other, there's still going to be something really interesting and unique about it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Also, someone pointed out, now I think it's really important to point out on this figure, even if you don't like how the robot mode looks, and that's completely justified, because it's not the best looking Wheeljack at all. But this is the very first Transformer we ever saw. The very first transformation we saw in the original cartoon was Wheeljack turning into this. And of course, Wheeljack is the first one we saw on screen. So this plays a lot to appropriate Transformer history. And I think this deserves to be made, even if it is rough. There's also one extra touch here, and it's hard to tell on this photo because it is getting small. We zoom it in, we see the back of the box, which number one is not a buzzworthy Bumblebee box, which is kind of interesting. Now, we do know that it is going to be an exclusive to Target, but if it's not buzzworthy Bumblebee, it's just part of, like, it looks like it's for the art style looks like it's just going to be for United. It does make me curious if buzzworthy Bumblebee might be coming to an end, ? Because, yeah, like, why would you be a Target exclusive and not be buzzworthy? when all the other Origin toys were buzzworthy, unless something's happened to that line. So now I'm like really curious. But the point being, look at what we're seeing here in the back of the box. That little blue hologram is Origin Bumblebee, which is designed to fit inside the vehicle mode just like he could in the original cartoon. That's pretty incredible. The fact that they actually managed to inflate Wheeljack's vehicle mode that big to fit a deluxe inside, that's actually pretty cool. That's actually a pretty good job. Also, I want to point out he does have a bunch of C-clips here on the side. And you know what? With 6 of them there, that seems like they are just the right size to actually store the 6 fuel rods that Bumblebee's Origin toy came with. So it took you a few years, but you finally pay off those accessories. There's finally something you can do with them, because Bumblebee couldn't hold them. But no, it's cool they interact that way. I would almost be in favor of them rerunning the Origin Bumblebee mold again, just because of this interaction for the people who didn't get it the first time. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to this. It's admittedly, as a Wheeljack, not the best looking Wheeljack, but I think it's doing something incredible and something that's genuinely worthy of existing. So I've talked a long time. I managed to burn 10 minutes talking about 2 toys you didn't click on this video to see. No. You want to see the one that's in the thumbnail. You know, the one that I have been championing for a long time, and the one you know I'm excited about. It's time. It's time. Tidal Wave is coming, and he is a titan. All is right in the world. All right, so I lead with this image just because it's so huge, imposing. I love how it's shot. Let's go into vehicles first because this one is doing quite a lot. Here is the full fleet. You can separate into all 3 of the boats: the aircraft carrier, the attack boat, the troop carrier. The one thing with this is I've been trying to find shots of the troop carrier either opened up or like shots of the robot mode where I can see the side of the leg and see if they actually can open the way they used to. I can't find pictures of it. So I'm not entirely sure if it retains that gimmick or not. It's hard to tell. Because honestly, like, this is just it's a con-goer's phone. It's phone photos. I'm not really seeing a hinge or like there's a gap there, but I'm not sure if I see a curvature that would actually allow it to roll and open up 90 degrees. So we might have lost the chair functionality of this section, which is unfortunate because I really wanted that to still function. In the original toy, that would have been to have mini-cons riding on that troop carrier. Here it would have been core class toys, which I still think would have been cool. But it is what it is. I mean, it's still cool that it still separates. Hasbro did make it clear. There's no photos of it on the floor of the con, but it can still transform into the full battleship mode without part forming. So it can still do the transformations that the original toy could. That's great. Okay, there's closer shots here. They are getting blurry and fuzzy because, again, potato quality cameras are a thing. But no, still looking good. Aircraft carrier, still good. I really want to see how this scales to the new core Energon Megatron. I'd be super curious about how he fits on this particular vehicle. I'd be curious about any jet, really, like the core class Starscreams. I want to see how they look. I want to see this with the old school minicon, Ramjet minicon. It might actually be in like perfect scale now. All right, we'll talk about that here in a bit too. So let's see. Speaking of modes, we'll go take a look at other modes later on, because there's another way that we got to see this toy. However, Hasbro also showed off the fact they added a base mode. And it's one of those half-transformed base modes I hate. But weirdly enough, it's the base mode I think we all made with our Tidal Wave at some point. just splay him out and just kind of make his ramps work for him. So, okay, fine. The base mode's official now. Maybe that's to, like, supplement the missing, like, functionality of the carrier, of the troop carrier. I don't know. The one thing about this is that it does show that the cannons on Tidal Wave can actually be removed and remounted to other positions. So, like, all 4 of his chest cannons have been moved to more battle station appropriate positions. So it's kind of cool they can do that. This mode can also utilize a few parts that we'll talk about later. But no, it's a goofy thing. It's the kind of base mode I hate, but I have a little bit of nostalgia for it with Tidal Wave. So I don't know. we'll see how it plays out, at least, I guess. Let's see, what can we get into? Let's get into proper looks of the big guy. And I'm really happy they went with the cartoon color scheme. I mean, it's the most obvious, because that is how he looked in the show, and they're trying to be more show accurate with Legacy. I love how much paint and detail has gone into him. Like, you can look at all the little spots of yellow all across him. The yellow landing lines from the aircraft carrier, or the purple landing lines, I should say. Little details inside the arms that are painted, extra stripes down the forearms. All the cannons are individually painted on the tips. Oh, it's so good. Little purple splotches here and there, little crests, on the light purple there on the head. Oh, it's beautiful is what it is. Beautiful. Look at the off gray paint on the legs to bring out that panel, the silver in the back. They usually don't paint the back of the vehicles. They did this time. I feel like there's reasons why this might have gotten a much beefier budget than a lot of figures. See, look, here I can see that gap. I can see a gap in the front of the leg, like that is a panel. Whether or not it can open to have seating for smaller figures, I don't know yet. There's another reason. There's another thing that might be there for. We'll get to that here in a minute, but just like take it in. Take it in. Thank you, Izaku Ben, for taking a really nice photo of this beautiful monstrosity of a toy. We can get into a little bit of what we can see for improved articulation over the original here. The neck turns, which, yes, that is an improvement over the original. It looks like the shoulders are specifically engineered to situate higher at the rotation point, so his arms should have more range of motion outward than the original toy did. Elbows still basically the same. I'm expecting a rotation point above the elbow, since obviously he can't do it at the biceps, where a lot of his transformation parts are. Fingers, we can see the pins, so we know the fingers should be able to hinge at multiple points. Don't know if the wrists will rotate, but it is, we'll keep an eye out. They've added cannons inside his hands, so now he has like actual like guns inside his palms too. Thighs are cut, so we know he has a thigh swivel. That's different from the original. Obviously, he has knees, different from the original. He's going to have ankle tilt, because every toy now has to have ankle tilt. Waist rotation, though, jury is still out. I can't tell if there's a cut here that will work for waist articulation or not. Also, that's traditionally where the troop carrier combines with the attack boat. So I don't know if that's going to be possible or not. I suppose it could be engineered to work. I mean, the Armada Prime super mode has waist articulation, so there are ways. But yeah, oh my god, it's just pretty all over. It's pretty all over. It's a little bit of a close-up shot. You can see a lot of the sculpting detail from the overhead view. You can see ports on the actual cannons. These seem like these would be 5mm ports for blast effects. And I don't normally go for blast effects, but Tidal Wave has so many cannons, it would probably look pretty cool if you could load all of him up with blast parts. I don't know if he'll come with them. We haven't really seen that. Okay, so I mentioned that there is another way of viewing this toy, and that's because Hasbro also had on the floor something that looks very similar to one of their YouTube reveal videos. And obviously, it's probably something that will be posted here in the next few days for everyone who didn't get to see this toy in Singapore. But we have a few screenshots from that. That's where the base mode came from. So here we go. Yeah, so there we have a little bit of the articulation demonstration. Universal hips is something else I probably should have mentioned as far as articulation improvements. Again, can't see anything in the waist, can't see if the biceps rotate correct, in the expected spots, but yeah, it's looking cool. It's looking really, really cool. It's definitely a marked improvement over the original. It's not like Cybertron Metro. It's not like the Cybertron Metroplex Titan where it's just like the original but bigger. This is much more in line with what I would expect. So, we see Megatron there on the side. Let's get a size comparison. So that's how big it is compared to a leader. Now, compared to last Titan, I didn't get the Nemesis. I didn't get Nemesis. Well, yeah. It was just kind of like a whatever toy to me. I would be in it for the vehicle mode, which is not a mode I could keep it in. It'd have to stay in robot mode just for space. But, no, he does kind of like, it's hard to tell from photos, but he looks like he might be a little bit more compact than your standard Titan. Or at the very least, like, I compare him to like Scorponok, I'm pretty sure he's going to seem a little bit thinner or maybe a little bit shorter. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. He is doing a lot. When you consider he's got the super mode, he's got the battle or like the super ship mode, he's got the 3 individual modes, he's got the base mode now, and he's got something else that you can see on screen right now. He's doing a lot. Boy is doing a lot. So if he keeps a lot of the playability of the original toy, then we're talking about something that is very much worth that price point. Yeah, he's doing a lot. So yeah, let's talk about it. Yes, he can combine with Megatron, and it is the way we kind of suspected. Kind of. So, Tidal Wave contains miniature parts of himself that can pop off and attach on to Megatron in order to form his super mode from Armada. And that's actually a fun way of doing it, and it's probably the only way it would have worked scale-wise. Just because it would have been too heavy any other way. That said, they actually figured out something else. Have you noticed what's weird about this? Have you noticed what's off? These aren't mounted to his arms. These parts are mounted to his gigantic shoulder treads, which would probably explain why those were not part of the shoulder articulation, because they wanted to make sure those were like solid enough to hold on to the extra weight. So instead, you're supposed to just kind of move these in conjunction with moving the arms in order to get poses with them. It's a cheaper way to do it, but also keep in mind, this toy is not nearly as sturdy as a 2002 Armada Megatron. So it probably could not have held the weight of these components on just his arms, even if they did it the way they did. I think what amuses me more is it's like they basically give you like a mini Tidal Wave that can't be put together just to throw onto Megatron. It's kind of funny. So the aircraft carrier is actually made of parts of his hand that can pop off. I don't know where the jetpack comes from. I assume it's from somewhere in the back of the legs, but we see where the little battleship shield comes from. We see where that comes from. Oh no. See, this is kind of like, I feel like they missed an opportunity here. I feel like they missed an opportunity here to either make these little components that store on him, like just pieces that could combine into like a mini Tidal Wave, or potentially if these parts could have like been the way we get Minicon Ramjet, because let's be honest, it's ridiculous that this guy does not come with Ramjet, considering how integral the original was. Well, integral is being generous. It worked and played really well with Tidal Wave, and being an aircraft carrier, well, being partially an aircraft carrier, coming with a little jet that can use it would be good. Giving him a base mode means having a little figure that goes with it would have been good. You could play with a base mode right out of the box. So, yeah, it's a funny solution. It's kind of what I predicted. But yeah, it just kind of works. So I assume like these things in the back here at the legs, I assume that's the part that comes off to form the jetpack. It's amusing. It's an amusing solution, but it kind of works. Kind of gives everybody what they wanted. So just to wrap it off here, there's the combined mode, just to prove that it exists. And yeah, I wish the shot and angle was better. I really wanted to see this a little better, but it is what it is. It's still looking cool so far. We got a shot of the box. It's super saturated. You can't see much, but you can see, Tidal Wave is basically the size he was in the Armada game, coming, right down to just being in the ocean. And, just firing off a million lasers, too. Not hitting a single Autobot that's attacking him, by the way. He's just shooting. So it's a cool box. It's cool artwork. And then, I think last shot is just like another size comparison. Just to get an example of just how beefy this boy is. Ooh. I'm excited. I mean, I've talked for over 25 minutes about this toy. I am excited. This is exactly what I wanted this toy to be. I'm super eager to get my hands on it. It's going to be a long wait to whenever this drops next year. But it's super cool to see. Hopefully we get better shots of it. I would love to see if the troop boat works. I would love to see I'd love to see better angles of all the other modes. So I'm excited. This is exactly what I was hoping it would be. All right, so that's Tidal Wave. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and thank you for everyone for stopping in and listening to a very long, over detailed, thorough examination of this toy. So, hope you enjoyed. I will see you next time.
We parlay with the captain.
You think a werecroc is going to listen to elvish rules of piracy?
Of course it would be the freaking elves that invented parlay.
I had to think of a quick replacement for the French.